Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure for me having a keynote. First time at CSE with a keynote. We have been in several panels in the last couple of years. I'm trying to talk today a little bit about the institutional adoption on digital assets and give you some hints of our view of a winning formula for a custodial solution. Who is we? It was Metaco. Metaco was acquired by Ripple in May last year, and now we are part of the big Ripple family, and being very proud of that. Our customers are the most well-known customers in all over the world in Tier 1. I guess everybody knows any of these banks listed up there, and you can read, so I don't have to go through each of them, but I also want to mention that additionally to these banks, we have some very big neobanks and fintechs as our customers, as Ajax and RuleMatch, who are being both exchanges, and therefore we consider us as experts being able to talk a little bit about the adoption of institutions to crypto assets, as well as about a winning formula, how to do custody in that times. What I want to do with you or go through with you in the next couple of minutes is, about a little pulse check. Do we see the current situation really as an adoption? Or do we have to see it differently? What are the consequences out of these happenings in the last couple of months and years? And then I want to give you some personal hints about a winning formula, how to do and how to set up a crypto custody solution to have a winning formula. So if we talk about the adaptation of institutions to cryptos, you can have different angles on viewing it. One of them is reading some facts, like that there are a lot of certificates on cryptocurrencies. Basically, they started already years ago in Switzerland. One of our customers is a very successful issuing standard old type products, certificates on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and very successfully selling it to retail customers. We have tokenized corporate bonds. Some of the representatives of these banks are sitting here. Hello. We have a lot of ETFs and on Bitcoin coming up or came up in the last couple of months, as everybody knows, and they had a big influence. As I was told, Bitcoin basically was sold out on different exchanges in high masses. So yes, there is an adaptation. There's an aggressive offering to ETFs to asset managers. I saw this in my near surrounding, as I have a lot of friends being in the asset management area, and they have been, bombarded with ETFs on Bitcoins in the last couple of months. But the question is that really an adaptation? For me, and that's my personal interpretation, is that it's more or less an addressing a retail thing. That's first test products. My recognition is that in 2022, the big banks made the decision with whom they want to go for the future. In 23, they implemented it. In 24, which is now, they will have a realization on that. And if we look on statistical point of view from this, for the same issue topic, we see that the majority of banks are in the testing phase. They are in an experimental phase. They are gaining experience. Whether or not the market sentiment is very positive for that year. So the big question is, what's the base which will enable us and the institutions to do a further adaptation to the crypto segment? Global momentum is in our favor. A lot of growth, as well as the growth in Germany from 2 billion to 3.2 billion. So we are on the right way. But what's the most important part? to enable that. And for me, the most important part is the regulation. Because without a solid guideline left and right on our way, there is no secure future in crypto assets and no adaptation can follow. And if you look on the samples which we listed up there, maybe there have to be others added, but Germany for sure, Switzerland, Brazil, Turkey, and others listed here, they have a solid jurisdictional rule book on how to tackle the crypto assets, the different crypto assets. And so you can see that these leaders in the markets are fostering the innovative use of crypto assets. For instance, 2 years ago, 2022, when there was the first glimpse of a law in Turkey, nobody had Turkey in our view about institutions and crypto assets, right? There was a real, a push going through the market where all the Turkish banks, or most of the Turkish banks, started investigating crypto assets, and that's so important that these regulations are there and give a path for the future. On the other hand, there are several other items and topics which are important. One of them is the evolution of the operational model. I think the startups are already very familiar with that. I think the banks and grown up and old already being there in the financial institutions might have a problem with that and start slowly developing into that direction. What do I mean from on-prem over private cloud to SaaS? Because most of the SaaS, of the crypto asset services are offered as a SaaS service, and only few can be, maintained and implemented in on-prem situations. The same is also valid for custody and storage. And when we think back in the beginning of the whole crypto success story, there was a software wallet, then there were hardware wallets with USB type sticks, whatever. And then now, over the last, I would say, 1.5 years, the topic of real custodial wallets came to the mind of the retail investors and institutional investors, so that they need service providers like banks to do a custody of their wallets. And at the same time, for the custodians, there was it was even going further about, thinking what's about hot wallets and cold wallets. And there with that hot and cold, I'm coming back to the regulations. In Asia, for instance, and I was really surprised when I got these numbers you see up there. There are regulations in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Japan, that the majority of the crypto assets have to be kept in cold storage. And that's a thing which we saw in the current or last year is not a topic at the moment. Not maybe it starts hopefully in the institutional adaptation in DACH or in Europe. But as you see, there is still, again, regulations is one of the most important topics we have to have the ability to adapt in the institutional area. So what influence do we have? We have jurisdiction, we have technology, we have future legal changes, different legal systems, operational models, deployments, whatever. And the point is that out of these, look back, what is adoption of the institutions, and to the future look, what should we do to have a custody system which cope with all of these? In my view, there are 4 big topics and areas which cover all of them. It's the market demand, it's technology, it's legal environment, and operational model. So let's jump into these 4 at the end and try to create a winning formula for you, what to do and how to do custody right. What do we need to cover market demand? Of course, we need adaptability and scalability. What do we need to cover the technology topic? We should aim for a technology agnostic solution. Don't be reliant on one of the trends of the moment. Legal environment. We should have a flexible governance layer to cope with all jurisdictional demands. And operational model, be able to grow and transform from an on-premise to a SaaS model in the future. Let's step into all of these topics quickly and have a more deeper look. If you look onto the scope with the market demand, we noticed that we need a scalable solution. It should be extensible, understanding the market trends. Obviously, we also need the people, a risk management, and we should enable a customer experience. And by that, I don't mean the customers, your retail customers, but the customers within the bank working with the custody solution, which makes it easy for the people and colleagues to work with it. Technology agnostic, it's just an example what you see up there. We can lengthy discuss about MPC and HSM, which is the better system, which is the system which you should choose. But you should always think about that you need a system which can be used as a hot wallet and simultaneously with the same solution have a system which can cover a cold vault. As I'm sure that in the future, the cold wallets, as you have seen in the regulation for the Asian markets, will also come to Europe and will also come to the DACH market. Governance layer, as we said, I think that's one of the most important points in the whole topics list. And we have been asked outside by a representative of a bank who came to us and said, we have a situation where we have two banks in two different jurisdictions, but I need one system. I don't want to have two systems covering, the one with MiCA, the one without MiCA. How can I do that? Do you have a solution? And yes, that's the right question. I think you should think and search for a solution which is enabled and enables you to cover multiple jurisdictions with one governance layer and cover not only Europe, but maybe also outside Europe. Let's think about Switzerland, UK, whatever other countries. Operational models. I think it's important that also the old-grown big businesses, banks, transform a little bit from on-prem or pure on-prem to SaaS models, because I believe that that's the future where it's more easy for them to grow. Yes, it has obstacles. Yes, it has new rules, new regulations, internal models where the banks have maybe a problem to cope with. But if you look on our customer base, until last year, it was a quite easy rule. The solid, old-grown, big business banks all wanted on-prem, and all of the startups, including Ajax, which is an exchange, wanted SaaS. But that changed. We now have two major prospects. I cannot name it, but hopefully you will read it in the press in the near future. They both of them, and I was really surprised, actually it's three, they're all going for SaaS operating model. And not only for the non-secure components, but also for the secure components. That means their key management system is software as a service. It's no longer on-prem, it's no longer in their cellar, it's no longer in their IT department. And these are real positively meant monsters of banks. And I was very positively surprised that there is a shift in the thinking into that direction. By the way, I had this shift already also heard from traditional banks in Austria on their traditional business, but that's not that easy. And I think maybe one note to the SaaS on-prem, take the opportunity. You now can shift one part of your business, which will be a major stake in your future business, and shift it to SaaS already. I think shifting the old traditional core banking system with your 100 systems around that, shifting that to SaaS will be a big obstacle. But starting with a new business in SaaS, that's the momentum you should take with. And as a summary, there was a slide between, but comms department deleted it. Okay. My personal favorites on the winning formula, and I think the presentations are somewhere for download, I don't know. Use SaaS as an operational model, as I just said. Use the chance that you can, shift part of the business to SaaS, that you also can learn for other business parts, like traditional businesses, to use SaaS as an operational model. Think already of on-premise cold storage. It will come also to other jurisdictions than Asia. And the only real cold storage means completely off the net can be on-prem. There are solutions, which we also offer, by the way, brackets closed, where there is a kind of cold storage on the net, but as you would think, it's maybe not the real cold. Data storage in a given region, that's a main issue. That's a must if you think about a multi-country solution. As I said before, we had this discussion with this representative of the bank, and there was also one question, not only having two jurisdictional systems covered, but also having the custody in two different jurisdictions, one MiCA and one non-MiCA. That means you would need two different key systems, one which is sitting in a MiCA country, one is sitting out of a MiCA country. You have to think about such solutions if you have the base that you need to cover multi-jurisdictional cases or customers from different jurisdictions. Provide a powerful governance layer, I think we covered that. Have flexibility in implementing regulations. Why is that important? Don't accept a given governance, security, whatever rule book, because we all don't know how legislation is changing over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You have to be ready for the next jurisdiction, not only for the current one. And interoperability to other systems. One of my favorites is to have an API first, but it's very technical thing. And you should also look on your costs, that you don't accept costs which are based on assets under custody or transactions, because our experience, these companies are coming back and want fixed costs when their business really is growing. And the last sentence, and I saw the time, I saw you, but the last sentence I want to give to you. We had this in several discussions with banks at the moment, and also with startups. Decide wisely. Wallets exists forever, and the migration of wallets really is a nightmare. And if you can't migrate them because of the technical systems, you have to maintain the other system for decades. So make your decision wisely and choose the right one from the beginning. Thank you.